All right, Kurt, get ready. 3, 2, 1, play.
Power rankings, baby, come and go. Episode number, I don't know. Chengdu in the Chengdu zone. Chasing cloud KW. Mr.X is everyone's dad. Sideshow is a pleasant lad. Bren cast slept through the match. Reinforce is also on the show. Plat Chat.
Okay, that was our theme song that was created. Who was it created by, Kurt? The Grey Goose. Thanks, Grey Goose.
Thank you, Grey Goose.
Welcome to Plat Chat, episode 32, 3? I lost count. You know,
I think it's 32.
It's
actually,
32.
Yeah.
Nice. It actually says in the thingy I've got here. A lot has happened this week.
You don't look at anything, and then you say the same exact things at the start of the episode. You intro it in. You say, "Welcome to Plat Chat." Then you do, "Oh, what episode is it? Oh, let me check the Discord. Oh, yeah, I never look at anything." And then you're like, "Oh, well, what's next? Oh, I guess the first topic." And then you just do the same exact intro every time.
Can you believe?
It's literally the same like you did, Matt. For
No,
15 episodes. You did the same thing.
Can you guys believe
Check
that
the
I'm getting
VODs.
equity in this company?
Check the VODs. Oh, it's ridiculous. Oh, well,
Unbelievable.
speaking of
Speaking
ridiculous.
of, look at this guy. Turns up late.
Yeah.
Turns up late to the
Late.
podcast.
You
Unbelievable.
got
margarita though, haven't I?
A little nightclub.
He turned up late to a pre-recording. That's
Unbelievable.
pretty unique.
Delicious, that actually delicious.
Hey,
Are you actually drinking
Uprising
more?
got us all drinking, dude. Yeah, it's
You drinking in quarantine, Josh? What's the occasion?
It's almost my other
episode 32.
It's almost episode 32.
No,
Yeah,
it is
so-
episode 32.
Yeah.
It's Monday, dude. That's why.
We're
It's
one
Monday.
closer to 33.
I actually haven't been drinking very much in quarantine at all. I just
really?
occasionally, no, not really. I was thinking recently that I haven't drunk wine in ages because Beth's allergic to grapes, and if I had a bunch of wine in the house, I would be getting plastered every night. I just know that I wouldn't be able to help it. So I'm
See,
glad
I
that
think-
I haven't.
I'm drinking like almost every day. Like I'm drinking way more now in
That
quarantine.
doesn't
than
sound
I did.
healthy at all.
Well,
No, it doesn't.
I needed hobbies, and I just found a new hobby.
I feel like
And I just found gin, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try a bunch of gin.
Hey,
so
people
now I just have
watching,
a bunch of gin. and
if
I'm
you're
just trying
bored,
different stuff.
don't pick up the hobby of drinking. Try something different.
Johnny, don't let him tell you how you live your life. You drink if you want to, bro. That's,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's good stress relief. There's
Listen
no
to Bren.
calories. You know, it's good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All right,
Brent
let's
stays
start
up
with the
until
week
6
13
a.m.
recap.
dating anime pillows.
Bro, listen, don't talk about my weeb collection ever again on this podcast. Ever again. Week 13 recap. Well, let's start with a match that I think everybody was looking forward to, but I wasn't expecting it to be as close as it actually was. It's NYXL versus Shanghai.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah.
It was pretty good, actually. I watched it live. I watched it in bed. I called the reverse sweep.
Did you?
So there's some sort of hissing going on. So gaggle of snakes escaped in the kitchen. I don't know if anyone can hear this. Okay, well, anyway, who wants to start first? Matt, go.
I didn't think this match should be as close as it was, even though I did like NYXL overall as a team. But I think they definitely clearly proved that they are the number 2 team in that region without a doubt. And I even think they could beat Shanghai now on the right week. I think you see what Who Are You gives you in terms of flexibility, explosiveness, etc. I casted their game against Chengdu. They were a bit sloppy in that one, but I mean, who the fuck's not sloppy against Chengdu? I mean, everybody's sloppy against Chengdu, but it is a loss for New York, but it's also in a way like a win in terms of like public opinion, right? We were talking about how potentially poor we thought they could be because of who they beat up in the Atlantic, and they go and take who the best team is in the Asia region to the limit. Very well could have been starting this episode talking about a New York 3-0, which would have been completely different.
Yeah, that's pretty possible. I actually loved the way that they opened up just playing May Reaper on Lijiang Tower. They didn't get swept up in the Echo hype like a lot of other teams did. They still had the ability to play the Echo, and they did on a bunch of the later maps. But when it came to the enclosed areas, they just dominated with May Reaper and showed that they were really good at it.
They did that to Chengdu as well. When Chengdu tried on Lijiang on like Control Center and I want to say it was Night Market, they played May Reaper, and Chengdu just played Echo and they just flew around in the sky and they just kind of barreled over their front line. Just ran right through.
This is really the sign of a great team as well, that just can play so many different compositions and look really good on it. Like we saw them play Paris as well, where they played the Genji and the Doomfist compositions, not in this match, but in the past couple of weeks. And this really shows me that they're like a well-rounded team with great confidence and feel really good about what they're doing. Because sometimes we have these teams like Seoul Dynasty who look fantastic on one composition, and then we kind of rate them based on that composition alone. But New York, I just dropped my phone. They're showing so many different looks, and that really showcases that they have a great understanding of the game. They have great synergy all around, and they're like a good team, which, great sign for the future as well.
I do want to point out, though, too, that in this match, if you take out Lijiang, where they didn't play any of the Echo, they just played the Mei Reaper, and it was actually a mirror for the most part as well. So that played very differently. They kind of got stomped on Volskaya and Rialto. Like they made it somewhat close, but the Shanghai Dragons were just a lot better than them, like really clean on their attacks, and they were easily able to come away with the win. If you look at the time bank that was left.
I think there is a part where Shanghai was a bit flustered because they hadn't have really been challenged by anyone so far in the Asia region. New York coming in, they probably haven't had a lot of time to scrim New York because they just got there, or for anybody else to really scrim New York and kind of give them the intel. So I think probably losing those first two maps is a big shocker wake-up call. I mean, Eichenwald going down to the wire, but
I have a different take on that.
What is it?
I agree with Josh's take. I think I was most impressed by the fact that they were just running kind of comps that we saw before previously. A lot of double shield, some of the Mei Reaper, to not really, as Josh put it, get swept up by the Echo hype. But I think New York just came in with a really good game plan against Shanghai. They came in, clearly knew what they were going to be playing on various sections of Lijiang, and they knew how to beat it. Like, I really enjoyed, did they play Torb Ash? Or was it just the... was it Reaper Torb? I can't even remember.
They played Reaper Torb in the game that I casted against Chengdu on
I can't remember. It was basically they ran Torbjorn as a sort of counteract to the Echo, because obviously the Echo's not being pocketed and they're just playing off angles, and then the turret's just completely taken away the focus of the Echo player. I thought they came out swinging, and it was really sick to see. Also, cool that NYXL do not have more ammunition to throw at us now, or the Plat Chat crew. They've got an obsession with this bloody podcast and what we say about them.
I love their Trinity. Do you see them just like murder the Shock?
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty great.
Maybe have they had a bad day?
I love it. No.
I think it's like that classic New York don't give a fuck, right? Like that's the kind of attitude they're leaning into. Because they never used to do that on the social. They weren't one of the teams that would roast people. They were just happy being at the top. But this year, well, I think especially last year when they were just like the third best team, and then this year where they're taking a bit of flack for not being.
I like it.
Yeah, they're swinging back.
It's competition. Let people know they suck.
But also, I think the New York have improved. When I watch these games, it's not just that I was wrong being harsh on them, which I think is also true. Like I think that, now that they've proven themselves against better teams, it was unfair to be that harsh on them previously. But also the fact that they've got in Libero to play the Mei has made a huge difference. Get you off the Mei. That looked dreadful back when they played against the Atlantic teams.
Yeah.
And they have been able to play at a higher tempo. Like some of those maps like Volskaya and Rialto, they got run over a little bit. On the defense, particularly, I don't think they can still kind of hang at that kind of speed. But on attack, they're pretty decent.
Yeah, I would be shocked if this is not the finals of the May tournament for APAC.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. They really needed that time to figure out their team. Sorry, Bren, did you have a point?
No, actually, no. I completely agree.
I was like, who's he going to argue for? I was like, is this our sponsored Guangzhou segment of the show?
I wouldn't be surprised if Seoul ended up picking up the pieces of whatever left of their team.
I think Seoul is still good in certain metas. That's a weird thing.
Okay.
They look like the Seoul Uprising for this week.
Yeah. Seoul Uprising. Dude, it's actually so bad though. They lost 9 maps in a row?
Mate, I didn't get to watch those games because they were late night, but my God.
I saw them fucking up close and personal, and their game against the Hangzhou Spark was just fucking embarrassing.
I tuned in late.
I was so disgusted because it was so late.
I thought I was going to be tuning in halfway through that series, and it was just over.
Yeah,
like I just caught the start of New York Shanghai instead. So I was speaking to someone about it, and they told me just not to watch the game, not to bother. They were a Seoul fan, to be fair, so they were just probably very disappointed.
No, the game was just like super poor. But I think it's more indicative of like what I've been a little bit scared of is like you've seen the really like London part of Seoul come out of like, this is the comp we're gonna play, and even when it doesn't work, we're not gonna make any adjustments in the middle of the game, and we're just gonna keep continuing to run it.
Yeah,
and they did that
like solo carry kind of ethos
series long, and at 3 a.m. watching that.
We're getting off track a little bit here with Seoul.
Oh yeah, it triggers
So
me.
let's touch now on to Atlanta versus Valiant. Do we think that
was a
we've
sick game.
overrated Atlanta here, Johnny?
No, I don't think so, because I just had a problem with the roster they were fielding and the way they were playing throughout. It comes back to not adapting mid-series, right? I definitely think it's a problem they were not fielding Erster at all and playing him, because I think he needs to be a key member on this team if you want to be successful. And I think if you look at Sharp and Edison, fantastic players all around, but I think they need someone able to be more flexible and be able to swap to a different hero if needed, because they were playing against some of these Ashe compositions and it just felt like they didn't know what to do. And I think Erster sort of unlocks that potential in this squad overall. So
This is
I don't know.
almost
I don't
like
know if it's the coaching or whatever, but they just, it's the same thing as Soul almost. Like they fell flat because they didn't adapt to the Ashe in time. And I mean, we saw this from miles away. I was tweeting out after the Hanamura game, like, oh my God, we have a reverse sweeps on our hand. I predicted reverse sweep as well, because we saw the Ashe pick come out and I was like, this is the end of the Zarya pick from FRD. Like, how are Atlanta going to adapt? And they didn't, but we saw this a mile away and they still didn't adapt throughout the series. So it's pretty disappointing.
Does anyone feel that like, so I feel like with Boston, right, their issues, they don't have enough talent. I almost feel like Atlanta's issues, they have so many talented players all over the place that we see them just kind of like, oh, well, he hasn't played for a while and he's pretty good at this hero. Like, let's put him in. Like, I feel like every time I see them, it's a vastly different roster than the week before, where I feel like they need to have some semblance of a team that's together. But I also get why you rotate, because you have so many good players. You want to keep them fresh, you want to keep them engaged, especially during a time like now. But I don't know if it's the best for the team at the moment.
You need to keep your stars in.
Yeah, but how weird is it that they run Sharp on the Echo and Edison on the Tracer when they have Erster, who's arguably, I mean, Erster isn't even really a Tracer player, but he can play the Tracer, I think, better than Edison can. And you've also not put Sharp on that role, whereas Sharp is like probably your best Tracer on the team, weirdly, because everybody else, all the rest of their DPS players don't really specialize in Tracer. They specialize in other stuff. It hasn't been a Tracer meta for so long as well that some of these players just missed out
play
on
other things. Yeah.
But also, where was Hawk? Why are we playing FRD the entire series? Where is Hawk?
I don't know. I also don't really agree with the Zarya pick, like right from the beginning. It just doesn't really make sense to me with what you're playing and how you're trying to play. I think that they got away with murder even at the beginning, and like the Ashe swap was a great idea. Just investing in an echoless composition worked superbly for the Valiant, but I don't think that FRD got that much done on the Zarya even in the first couple of maps, and then he just got hard countered and they never swapped away from it. Really weird.
Sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
Really? Okay. I want to make sure that you get to talk as well, Bren. I want to make sure you have your,
I don't have that much to add on.
Bren worried about talking. He's got 4 coffee cups around him. He's been on his phone the whole time, and he's just
this is my fucking run a show, you little shit. Don't come at me.
He's trying to host, bro.
Oh, we know he's definitely on Instagram or what is it?
Look at this shit. This is the Discord.
He's in the machine gun method of swiping right or whatever it is. The machine gun method.
I wanted to bring this idea up to light, and I wanted to hear what you guys think about it, because it feels like we've seen so many volatile series that just go back and forth, and I can't help but think that in this mess of hero pools and some adaptations, we forgot about maps and how maps affect different compositions, because it feels so many times that we look at a series and we say like, oh, but map 4 they lost to the Ashe, map 5 they lost to the Ashe, they didn't know how to play against it. But then I look on paper and I'm like, well, because it was an Ashe map, like Ashe is really good on that map, and like the enemy team didn't adapt or anything. So I wanted to hear if you guys think that compared to 2018, when we used to browse over.gg, look for map stats, how it wasn't so important, how it affected map compositions, we've kind of forgotten about the map design part of how it plays into hero compositions as a whole.
I'd like to add on to that.
Yeah, go, Bren.
I think it's. I think you're completely correct. I've stopped considering map statistics pretty heavily, to be honest. Mainly just because we've moved. I think a lot of teams have changed up their rosters quite significantly. But it's just the nature of we were in such consistent metas for the longest time where you could derive stuff from maps. But your point about thinking about the map geometry and how maps are designed and how it affects certain hero picks. Yeah, I think yes, we should be doing that, but I'm just not omniscient. I don't know. It's one of the. There's so many variables to already consider that considering even the map geometry and how that goes into play with different heroes is almost like one layer too deep.
Yeah, I feel like I've thrown map stats completely out the window this season because it's just absurd. I mean, it changes every week in terms of meta and whether you're good at it or not. You don't even know the last time they came up on when they came up on that map, what the meta really was that week or what they were playing. But to your point, though, what I would like is if I knew, let's say for argument's sake, we were talking about New York playing the May Reaper on Lijiang. I would much rather look at a map, know what compositions are going to be good at that map, and then see how teams' records are with that composition, as opposed to the map. Because I feel like the map dictates the composition, but if you look at just map data, depending on whether it was a good composition week for a team or not, you're going to get such drastic changes in terms of their performance on the map, which may not be the determining factor. The determining factor is really the composition.
I just feel like sometimes we see some teams take the inferior matchup because they've just invested into that one composition. Because sometimes you play the double shield when you very well could just play a dive composition. Because this week we saw some double shield, we saw some dive. I interviewed Moth on the show, and he basically said well, we think double shield is the best because all around on most maps, double shield is favored, but on some maps you can play dive, of course. But we didn't really see teams that played both, unless it was like New York Excelsior or someone. Most teams, they specialize in either double shield or they specialize in dive. And it's just weird to me that we're not seeing like the full spectrum throughout all maps.
Doesn't that make a lot of sense though? Because if you're well practiced on double shield, you're going to beat a team that's less practiced on dive, but the map favors them. Like the map adds a little bit of favor, but the amount that you're actually practiced and good at that composition is obviously.
And we all know that like Overwatch over the last few years has turned into a game where it's like always safer to mirror rather than kind of play the opposite. So if you worked on your dive composition and then the other team is also playing dive pretty much exclusively the whole series, it's pretty much exactly what you practiced, whether you have a good it would have been like if Seoul Dynasty would have pulled out double shield against Hangzhou, right? And they were losing. We know that they're good at it. They've probably been practicing Echo for weeks, if not that, trying to make it work.
Yeah.
I also think that in the specific example of Valiant versus Atlanta, the idea that the last three maps were Ash favored, I think is true, but also so was Hollywood. Like I definitely think that if they had thought about that composition on Hollywood, they would have had a
it's just there as well. In general, because I looked at the Valiant Gladiators match as well, and it felt like when Valiant were almost winning that series against Gladiators, they actually just won at the Ash favored maps. And so it wasn't so much the composition that was, I mean, of course it was a composition that was hard to play against, but it made it extra hard on those two maps because Ash was good on them. If that makes sense. I don't know. I just wanted to pick your brains on it. I find it interesting because it felt like before we had way more versatile teams that just played all kinds of shit. But,
well, I don't even want to say it was more versatile. I think with the ability to play just varying different comps where you could have played 3 tanks, you could have played 1 tank, you could have played, I mean there was just so much chaotic things you could play. That's why you saw more pocket picks and stuff like that.
I also think that with hero pools being introduced, you're just not going to see, like,
Flick it forward 5 minutes, mate. Flick it
Sponsored,
forward.
Bren sponsored Hero Pool segment of the week.
Oh no! Listen, the people are
Are
starting
you a
to come around to
sponsor
my
out there
ideas.
looking for a negative 5-minute rant? Because we have one every single week here on Plat
Do you
Chat.
want negativity associated with your brand?
You can
Hey, the
sponsor
people-
Bren's
the people-
rant on Hero Pools.
The people we're actually going to talk about hero pools a little bit later on, but I just want to add this. I think with the nature of hero pools being a week long, that teams also probably feel like we found a comp that works with this set of heroes that are in rotation. Why would we try and find two when we can just master one? That's another element to it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, last match that I want to recap that we watched was actually Philadelphia Fusion versus Paris Eternal. As it is written in the archives, every single time these two teams clash, it must go to map 5.
That was a great match.
It was a really good match. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Particular highlights for me, EQO coming out to play for the first time in a very long time.
Sick.
Giving them the good try on Numbani after they shit stuff.
Yeah. I think he was one of the better echoes that we saw in the league thus far.
Yeah.
He was really good.
He was a really solid player. But as well as that, on Paris Eternal, I mean, how bad is it that Gray didn't get fielded and Fielder did on 200 ping?
Yeah, I mean, did you see? I actually didn't tune into this, but I saw that on the competitive Overwatch subreddit. There was a clip from Gray's stream, and it said Gray is leaving the Paris Eternal, but then it was tagged with potentially misleading. So
Yeah.
I haven't really
didn't
watched.
click on it.
And I'll be the judge. I'll watch it now.
No, tell us.
I can tell you
He has
whether it's
experience from Call of
real or
Duty.
fake. Yep.
He's seen this many times.
I can
The
tell
drama.
whether it's the real juice or whether it's just trying to get those sweet.
It's in
Twitch
French,
primes,
actually,
dude.
Matt. So there's no way you're gonna.
Yeah,
be
He can
so
tell-
it's fine.
he can tell the tone of the voice,
I speak French.
All right,
His
there's
best
a
friend is
translation.
Keemstar.
There's a translation in the comments.
Je m'appelle Matt.
Wow.
Fantastic.
There you go.
Apparently, someone in the
French,
chat
dude.
said, "Was it a strategic choice to leave Gray on the bench?" And he said it was a strategic choice to leave Gray on the bench. You'll soon understand why.
It's
So,
never a good.
That's literally it.
Yeah, I don't think you can ever get anything positive about it was a strategic decision for me to not play. I think that's probably it's not a good sign.
But the interesting thing is, like, I've played, and I mean, I haven't been on the same team as Gray, but we've played some ranked and stuff together. And if there's anything I know Gray for, is that he's so incredibly aggressive on his Ana and just like looks for picks and stuff all the time. And then we actually see Fielder just pop off on 200 ping. So when you say it's a strategic difference, I'm like, well, Fielder actually just popped off like Gray would. So I'm very curious. I think there's more to that situation.
He's a nice guy. They should keep
Gray's
him.
lovely. Gray's fantastic. But I think a lot of players at the moment, John Spector actually wrote a comment, wrote a big post on competitive Overwatch, you know, a message to the fans.
I thought you were about Gray.
No, not Gray.
Right, individual. Sinatraa doesn't get a post. We'll give one for Gray.
And he had a segment about player retirements, and he was saying that you know, he can understand why there's a load of stress on the players because they're stuck inside having to work. There's COVID going around everywhere. You can't interact with your family or your teammates.
Yeah, most of the time you're not even in your home country.
Like that's got to suck for a lot of players. And if you focus on the short term or have other priorities, like say your family are struggling in like your home country or something, you might definitely want to prioritize that. There's like so many different things that could be going on for our players.
Is the player turnover worse this year than it was in previous years? Because I feel like people are just reading. Yeah, I think it's about the same, right? I don't know what the numbers are.
Well, it depends. Do you mean owl player turnover? Because if you mean like tier 2 people as well, then I would say it's definitely worse than previous years. But if you mean owl people, then no, I don't think it is.
No, I mean, you got stuff like Coco, Tailspin, people like that. I think the big difference is just like people say that they are going. No. What do you mean? Yeah.
Did he just retire?
No, I'm saying like last year and stuff. I'm saying like last year and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just. I think it's just a bit different because these days people are like, oh, you know, I'm gonna go play in Valorant, and I'm just like, oh, well, have you played Counter-Strike before? Do you know, understand the game? But before, when people retired, they didn't have a destination, and so we weren't as invested in them retiring. Because we were like, okay, well, they're going to go pick strawberries or something, and like we didn't really care about it. But now, when there's a destination involved and a sense of them sticking, like still on the internet and like still in the interests we share with them, I think it's just we're invested differently in the retirement post. And so I think it's more noticeable when I think that maybe the turnover is pretty similar to what they spent last few years.
I also think
people didn't have anywhere to go in the past, but now they're like,
if people
well,
wanna,
I've been in T4, time to go to Valorant.
And that's what they're gonna do. That's what they're gonna do. I don't need, like. I think people should actually focus more on celebrating the players we have, right? So I think like even with Sinatraa, I saw a lot of people like, oh man, really loved watching you play. It's like, well, why wasn't that same kind of positive energy there when he was playing, as opposed to like, he looks like an alien, haha, let's troll him in his shadow.
I think it was,
so
I think it
weird.
was just because his storyline was sick, right? I mean, I don't want to skip into it, but I guess we can talk about Sinatraa moving over to Valorant now. It's kind of a nice little segue. But I think because his story was so dope, like he popped off in the scene before Overwatch League really existed, and he had so much hype around him in the first year as this 18-year-old coming into the league. His salary got leaked by ESPN or something, I don't know. And he had the nickname of Mr. 150K. So much hype behind him, and it flopped. He flopped in year one. Like, he wasn't an intelligent player. He was mechanically gifted, but he wasn't intelligent. And then he was shaped and formed by this coaching super team in Season 2 into a superstar player and revolutionized the way Goats was played with his own Zarya play. Like, then ended up winning the entirety, the grand finals. Like, his storyline was dope.
Yeah, it was great.
And we helped build that in the league ourselves. I'm not going to toot our own horn too much here, but I felt like we did a pretty good job of kind of describing the come up, because he was a cocky kid, and we got the sound bites where he was, come on team, bring it together when they were losing everything, showing him as a leadership figure, as a leader on this team. So we built him up like this. So it's understandable that people were like, yo, what the fuck? Like when he's actually gone. But yeah, I mean,
that's what he wants to do, though, and it's going to make him happy.
Exactly.
I'm all for it. Yeah.
See, I know that there's like a part of me that should just be happy for him, but instead, I feel like a worried father, and the reason is because I worry that players like Sinatraa, and I would say this to any OWL player, not just Sinatraa, but if you've already made it in an esport, and that doesn't matter what esport it is, I think there's a tendency to ignore almost how lucky you were to be in the right place at the right time with the exact right skill set to be able to make it as a pro and earn that much money and get into a secure position. And because it's easy to have it's called survivorship bias, right? Like you only pay attention to the people who won the lottery. You don't pay attention to the millions that don't. So like if you make that comparison as well, everyone always asks me, how did I become an esports, like somebody that has a career in esports? I was in the right place at the right time with the right skill set. But if I was in a different place or a different time, then I wouldn't. We'd
all be better off.
And you wouldn't even be able to ask me. Yeah,
how do you explain me?
Well, yeah,
you have friends who have been in the right place at the right time.
I got no skills.
You just happen to be there.
Got no skills. Don't know the difference between a verb and a noun. Don't know how to pronounce words.
Oh, that was gold on the broadcast, dude.
I will say, but here's the thing. I didn't get to the crux of my point, though, because I feel like if Sinatraa or any other player that was an OWL player, if they think about the amount of people that were there in the OWL beta. No, sorry, not the OWL beta, the Overwatch beta. How many players are still at the top level, still playing in OWL from the beta? I want to say like 5, 10?
Sure for.
I actually don't know. Never
Harry
sure
Hook.
for.
Oh yeah, Harry Hook, literally.
Harry Hook.
I mean, he played one.
Some of the Korean guys were probably around way back then, but there was no attention on the Korean scene, so I don't know.
Well, no, even then, like, Korea wasn't that strong in the beta. Korea really kicked in like the fall of 2016.
Right.
Because I mean, we beat Lunatic High and all of those teams at APAC.
But like take that situation and now try and think about how it applies to Valorant. These players that are getting on the ground floor are very unlikely, and I'm not saying that it won't happen, but they are very unlikely, as shown by every other esport, to still be around in 3 years' time and in a career.
But I think though he's 20 years old, and if that's going to make him happy.
Yeah,
go for it, right? I mean, you're young, right?
Sure, you are young, but also I think that when things are done as like a passion statement rather than something that's
taken logically.
Yeah, but he did say that he thought about it for like a month or more and was discussing this. But I'm also thinking, I'm not just thinking about Sinatraa. I'm thinking about people like Sebiolbi, who was considering retiring last year just because he was on the bench for a while. Yeah. And it's like, if you think about the long term of like how valuable you are to your team, the fact that Overwatch is always changing and it probably will come around a time where you find it enjoyable again because you did in the past, you probably will again in the future. I would have been really worried for Sinatraa if his stream numbers hadn't exploded, but his stream numbers are
he's also super good at he's also super good at the game. I watched today. He's picking up
he's amazing.
Some kills.
His aim is pretty insane.
Yeah, his aim's pretty
I think
sick.
his team's letting him down, but we're gonna get onto that when we do the Valorant podcast.
Yeah.
Bren's
I actually do have some thoughts about this.
My favorite thing is sometimes I'll be here gaming, like Chelsea will watch like streams, and I can always tell when she has Bren stream on because all I hear is flash, bang, flash, bang. It's like it's just fucking permanently drilled into my head. Bren's voice. Like
I copied that one from Hiko.
Ah, right.
No, shout out to Legends, boys. You
so unfortunately, you can't copy the rest of his skill set. Only the ability to.
No, I'm getting there. Though. I'm Plat 2. I'm climbing. Trust. Yeah. I'm getting there. Anyway, okay. Let's go ahead, Johnny.
Yo, I just wanted to add to that. Like, it's so hard sometimes to like see yourself from the outside in. Like, just realize what kind of a fortunate position you're in sometimes. And this goes back to like when I left Rogue. I didn't realize how blessed I was to actually be like on the best team in the world and how hard it is to be on the best team in the world. And then I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go make a Swedish team. And I was like, oh, apparently it's hard to be on a Swedish team and like actually try to be good again. And like it's actually their circumstances are like so unique and so it's so hard to reach the top that you can never underestimate how hard it is.
Before we move on, what was your favorite Sinatraa moment now? For all you guys.
I tweeted mine out. It was the stage 2 finals on Blizzard World when he clutched up a fight. He built up a grav in about 10 seconds. And clutched up and beat the Titans. And then off the back of that, they ended up winning the series.
I think it was.
He said his favorite moment was.
Yeah. Dude, I casted one of their games against the Titans. I don't remember if it was it may have been stage 1 finals. I don't remember whether we did stage 1 or 2 finals last year. But he had like 60k damage in a map of King's Row. And I was just like, this guy's a fucking nut. I was like, he's just going in, just dunking on full teams like over and over again. His Zarya was just sick.
Early on in GOATs, when he was the one who was consistently taking high ground, he was so consistent with his right clicks. He really did. I don't think it's an underestimation. I don't think it's an understatement to say that he revolutionized the way Zarya was played in GOATs.
Yes.
I won't throw shade at any other Zarya players in OWL, but if a Zarya meta popped up tomorrow and he just walked in off the street after playing Valorant for 2 weeks, I'll take him.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. You can't also forget about the spawn camping days. You can't forget about that because that was really good. And also, my memory that's burnt into me is actually sort of when you started to see some of his development in play, because I think it was you, Bren, who highlighted the fact that he was actually like a bit of a lone star kind of player who just relied on individual skill. And for some reason, I can't help but forget one of these Blizzard World maps when San Francisco Shock were playing like a dive Genji Tracer composition or something. And the way I saw Sinatraa move around the map, on the map overhead, how he played with his team, and how he did so much work, not only for himself, but for his team. Like, he always poked the tanks at the right time. He always found the picks in the backline at the right time. And when I started seeing that development of a player in game, I was like, holy shit. Like, Sinatraa's for real. Like, he's not just a meme 150k because he's a cool guy. Like, it's actually there in play.
Did you say Blizzard World?
Yeah, it was Blizzard World. He played Tracer, but I can't remember when. I
absolutely remember that exact match, and that's what I was just about to bring up as well. It was
wow, that's so sick.
Yeah, it was in stage 4 of of the final season, and it was when they had been playing with Krusty just for a short amount of time, and it was like a fundamentally different style of play. He was playing Tracer, and he was, instead of just like going forwards with the rest of his team, he had set up like this perfect flank on the archway and been able to collapse with all of the rest of the San Francisco Shock. And you could just tell that Krusty, like, that's, I don't really have a moment for me with Sinatraa. It's more of like, the development of how we think about him, like going from this cocky kid that was getting angry that Sabiobi had a harmony orb on him in the World Cup matches.
Do you remember his beef with Mikey A?
Yeah,
In
that
the
was
World
at the World
Cup.
Cup as well.
I was gonna say, like on the player development, I think about like just seeing his personal development from afar. Like I remember before the Overwatch League began, and I mean, we obviously knew who he was. Like he had a ton of hype around him, and you kind of knew he was going to be like the face of the league. And you would go watch his stream, and he would just be fucking banning people, cursing people out. And Chelsea's like, this guy's going to be the face of the league. I was like, well, I don't know. I was like,
anyone have any final thoughts?
Kind of got something to him, and he's turned into a nice guy.
No,
he's a lovely guy, and I hope he does really well. And even if he doesn't, his stream's going to pop off. So,
or you just come back and be the best player in the league.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, all wish him the best. Wish him success in the scene. Probably not going to happen though until a couple of the Sentinel members get changed around though. But we'll leave that for another day.
We'll save that for the other podcast.
They just started.
Anyway, what is next on the docket? Let's discuss Echo's first week in OWL, because we briefly touched on it when we were talking about the OWL, about EQO and people, but there was a very discernible difference between the good Echoes and the bad Echoes. And, the biggest thing was the ult usage, because some of the ults were just atrocious, and I can get it, it's chaotic, but my God, it
was chaos.
Some of the better Echoes also had terrible ults, though. I was thinking about the Shanghai game, where I don't know about you guys, but I thought that some of the ult usage, like the actual neutral game, was really, really strong in the New York Shanghai game. But some of how they were utilizing their ults just felt really off to me. Like just trying to clutch with DPS, that's almost never going to work, I would say. Like the percentage play is almost always to copy a tank or a support. Like almost always a tank.
Yeah, I liked. I thought Rascal did a really nice job of his ult usage.
He's the best Echo.
When I saw him play. Yeah, I mean, also think about that guy can play everything. He would copy the enemy Batiste and just start shredding people. This is awesome.
And Ash. He just copied Ash. I was like, what?
I liked when I saw people copy either the tanks or I saw it a bit in the Hangzhou Seoul series. The duplicate onto Brigitte was extremely effective because you can swing, do the damage, the heal, and you earn rally basically instantly. And then we saw some instances of double rally on the team, and you're just unkillable.
Well,
that's weird though, because
Josh, we were casting a game where I can't remember who did it. I think it was in the Paris Philly match, and the question then comes up is like, well, why didn't they just save their rally?
Because rally doesn't stack. You don't get double armor.
You don't get double armor, but would it apply faster because it's double the layers, so you get it quicker? So it's like double the sustain, but it's still not.
Do you get it
worth
quicker? No. I'm not sure you do get it quicker. It's really weird. Like rally's such a powerful ultimate anyway, though, that just cloning the brig to get the rally, I think, can be literally fight winning immediately.
Yeah.
But I mean, the tanks and the supports normally just have better ults anyway. And just if you jump on someone with the double Winston, or if you're just running at them with the Reinhardt, they have to back off.
The poor fucking Zenyatas this week. Double fucking primal rages just fucking launching them around everywhere.
It was good fun though, because they just booped them around, so it wasn't really like they were getting killed by a primal. They were just like, oh well, this dude doesn't even know how to kill me, so I'm just flying away across the map.
I also think Teamsters didn't really I don't say they don't understand, but it was super odd at a lot of the games that I watched at night, where you'd see double primal and they would put the Discord orb on the Echo primaled Winston and just start shooting him. And I'm like, well, that guy's just going to go back to be an Echo and fly away. Like, why don't you Discord the actual monkey and try and take him out?
I think it's just chaos, though, in the moment.
Yeah, it's just chaos.
Yeah.
I don't think they really
playing
can
instinctual, right?
Yeah, I do like how some teams were. What were they playing? I can't remember what exact hero was being played, but the Echo. I was watching one of the matches in North America on Sunday, and they transformed into. I can't remember what it was. I think it was the DPS picks. Like whenever they got were transforming into a DPS, they're insta focused down from the other team, which I kind of like, because if you allow them to get their ults, sometimes it can be just fight winning. in itself, but there's a small period of time where the Echo has just transformed to someone really.
Do you think her playtime goes down this week with Widow and McCree back?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
And Mercy.
Really?
Well, Mercy's back in the mix, which may help her or hurt her, depending on
there's
if you
no
see hit
brig.
scan on the other side.
The big problem is there's no brig for armor packs on flying echoes, and I think that's going to make a big difference on the survivability of the echoes, because when you can't increase her natural health with their armor pack, I think she's just going to be so vulnerable in the air. I mean, I played around in ranked, and I'm not a pro player by any means, but like like you get picked off so easily by just like a McCree or an Ash.
Yeah.
Like you really can't understate how easily you die. So not having an armor pack to bolster like 50 health is a big deal to me.
I would love to see one team try it, and it would probably just crash and burn, but I think it would be hilarious to try on at least some maps like a Pharah Echo combination with a Mercy in the sky, and just so much verticality and just damage that like even as like a hit scan, like there's just so many places to look in the sky that nobody else.
Wrecking ball.
Genuinely, I could see that
like just
working
weird
on
stuff.
I could see that working on certain maps.
Like a map like Kings Row on offense, right?
First
Like
point
where you play a
Eichenwald,
Pharah.
Lijiang Tower, like
Yeah.
But what do
see-
your tanks and supports do? Like, who's
dive.
allowed to support on the ground?
They fucking die.
Lucio Wrecking Ball,
Lucio,
it has to be.
yeah.
Lucio
You
Wrecking
cannot
Ball
get
is
run
wrong.
over. Because if you run out against that composition and you're playing like Reinhardt Sen or something, they're just gonna run you over.
Yeah.
So you have to play very mobile heroes. Yeah.
But it would just make Hitscan's life hell, though. Like, imagine a Mercy just darting in the air between two flying targets.
So I definitely
Can I,
agree that that the Echo is going to be utilized a lot less coming into this next week, but I still think that teams will play her because I mean, she's overtuned. Like
You
her
think?
damage, her neutral game, like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not, it's not even like her ultimate is her ultimate. I think is the best part of her kit because of how powerful it is and how game changing it can be during team fights. But just basic Echo, especially because I don't think the bug is fixed on the Owl patch, or at least it wasn't this week, where her sticky bomb damage can go through shields.
I
Right?
thought I saw a Reinhardt die to sticky bombs
Get
through an
blown up,
anime
yeah.
dress when he still had his shield up, and I was like, is
so
that bug?
so I think that bug was still in this Owl patch because they obviously because it got applied onto the PTR and then pushed through to live recently. But I think it was too recently for it to go onto the Owl. So I think that bug was still in, which means she's still even more powerful. I don't know if it will still be in next
Yeah,
week.
but Ryan's out, so it doesn't actually affect any other hero.
Well, it could affect Echo. It's literally. Does it not affect any other hero?
I mean, no other hero stands there with their shield right in front of them, do they? So, I mean, Brig, but Brig's
but
also out.
I'm not sure how the actual mechanic works. Is it because he actually holds up the shield, or is it quite literally if you are standing on one side of the thing, the sticky bomb just halfway goes through the shield and it penetrates the shield?
No, who's rubbing their face up against a Orisa shield or something?
Little advantages like this can help out.
I don't think so, dude. I think that's a
Pro
stretch.
play is just about
Coach
optimizing your
Bren.
play to such a level where the tiny advantages snowball into bigger ones.
Yeah, but with hero pools, you can find big
Okay,
advantages
sure.
by good comps.
Listen, Josh, we'll get on to hero pools a little bit later, all right? You know,
Yeah. Going back to your point, Bren, what was so great about Rascal was actually that he just didn't ult sometimes. Like he
Yes.
just played the hero Echo because Echo was so fantastically good and just phenomenal ability kit. So then I cut out.
Yeah, I
No, you didn't cut out.
I don't know about that though. I feel like
Hello?
against the McCree.
Did I cut out?
No.
No, I don't know.
No.
I can still hear you.
I just lost all your audio and webcams.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, well, we can still hear you
Okay.
and see you.
Okay.
You're in the middle of a
Problems in
sentence
quarantine.
that we can definitely hear, and you're like, "Am I cutting out?" And like you just sort of like, "Why?" You're
well.
weird.
There you go.
I think it's going to be really hard to play Echo this week. I think it's going to be
Yeah.
super difficult.
I think Bren is going to be the first person on the Owl broadcast to pull a Jad and become a coach of a team.
Yeah.
I can see-
to
I'd like
pull
to
a
see
what?
A coach,
Who did this?
Jad from Riot. He left the
Oh, dude,
commentator
Rodeo,
team
yeah.
to be the
no
coach
idea.
of Team Liquid. I can see Bren being the coach of the Toronto Defiant.
Nice.
No, thank you.
No.
Him and Sure.
I don't
It'd be
think
like
I-
Donald Spitfire or something.
I don't think I'd be a good coach. I think I'd be a good leadership figure. Like, I take the players to the gym.
Could you imagine the players on the first day if they're like, all right, this is your coach, and you just fucking walk in slides and fucking sandals, like, hey guys, what's up?
No, I'd be
No,
professional.
Bren would be Chipsa, but better. Like, he'd be a better alternative to Chipsa. Because people are like, well, Chipsa has a good Doom. But if you actually baited that Bren would get playtime, it's like
They'd be
even
fucking
better.
They'd be screwing, and he'd be off in the corner playing Path of Exile. He'd be like, oh, you guys are doing great. Keep it up.
If I was a coach, I'd turn up in a suit for one, okay, because appearances matter. In that scenario, right, a suit kind of produces the idea of power in people's minds.
Okay.
When I'm walking around the owl offices, though, I dress like a homeless person because in California, it's the opposite effect. The worse you dress, the more power you have because they can't fire you. Like, you're not being fired for how you dress, which means that you're just unfireable. So what I'm saying is I'm unfireable.
I don't know how we got here.
Yeah.
Yeah, neither do I. Let's
Can I just end on Echo?
go ahead.
The sickest ultimate I saw this entire weekend, it was not some silly Winston Primal Rage. It was not some dumb Brigitte rally. It was actually EQO, and it was the sickest ultimate I saw all weekend. And he recognized the win conditions of the enemy team with diving with Winston Tracer, while Philly played a slow composition with like Orisa Sigma or something. And he made himself a diva to counter the win condition of Paris Eternal. And they had two self-destruct matrices or whatever, defense matrices. So Paris just actually couldn't dive. And then he used the self-destruct, lobbed it over the garage on Route 66, and found a pick that made Philadelphia win. And that was just so high-level play to like recognize the win conditions of both teams and being able to go into a diva. Like, who the hell goes into a diva? That's so unsexy. It's like, blows my mind.
Yeah,
but he just did it. It was so smart. It was so sick.
I agree with you, and it's those little moments that you'll see with Echo's ult where players, because I think in most scenarios it makes sense to go for Brigitte or a tank hero, but Diva's usually not the first choice for a lot of players because one of the big takeaways from Echo when you duplicate someone is you want an impactful ultimate to use. And self-destruct isn't that impactful these days. A lot of teams are very good at playing around it, and you kind of need to coordinate it in the first place. Like, when was the last time you seen a team self-destruct and play around it? Like, as an actual play. Like, it just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work these days. Teams have gotten too good. So, yeah, like, in those little moments that are going to separate the great Echo players from the truly excellent Echo players. That's what makes this hero so exciting. Anyway, that's a lovely little end to that segment. Well done, Johnny.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Brennan. I appreciate that, mate.
Let's go on to the Fall of Dynasty. Seoul.
Oh.
We briefly touched on this. They have not had a good time of things. They have actually just been getting pooed on. And I'm talking, they need some adult diapers to clean this up.
You need more than the adult diapers. You need the cleaning crew to come in, shower them down. They sucked. I mean,
Yep.
like I was gonna say that they sucked like recently, but I mean they just look like they suck.
What's the takeaway?
There
So
has
they
to be
did-
something bigger to this.
They didn't make any changes in their composition. The first day of the week against what it was Guangzhou, they played creative. They had him play. I believe they had one other change to their lineup during that one as well. Then they lose 3-0. They revert those changes and they play Michelle in the game that we had against Hangzhou. It's the first time this season we've saw Michelle at all.
Yeah.
And they got fucking, I mean, dude, like Hangzhou, we consider like, I mean, we're debating whether Hangzhou is better than Guangzhou. I mean,
They're like 10-11.
The person who loses that, by the way, is just above Chengdu for like worst in the region. And they got fucking, I mean, dude, they got stomped. And I knew the series was over probably about halfway through, but we still got to cast it. And it was brutal.
Yeah. My diagnosis of this team is that when I see them play, they look so poor in terms of team synergy, etc. That when I saw them lose the first match, oh my god, who did I lose to after Shanghai? Guangzhou, yeah.
Yeah.
They looked in the Hangzhou game like the night before. They were like, okay, we're putting Michelle in, and we're going to change up the shot calling structure, and we're going to have this guy call instead. And then they go into the Hangzhou game, and their shot calling is so poor because they changed up the roster that they start hesitating because they're changed up the shot calling style. That's what immediately clicked in my head, which is like when I played in Misfits or whatever, and we change a shot caller, and it messes up the flow of everything, and people are hesitating, they're waiting, they're confused, they don't know who is going to take initiative or who is going to call, and that's what it looked to me, right?
What it looked like to me was it looked like the London Spitfire from last year. What it looked like. Instead of
but didn't they change up the callers and stuff all the time?
The Dawson has been,
but it never worked.
The caller.
Instead of kind of having those players come in and acclimate to what Seoul was doing right, it seems like they've just taken what they did at London and just added the players of Seoul to it, which hasn't changed much of anything.
Yeah. Have you got anything to add here, Josh?
Yeah, a little bit. I think, all right, starting off, they literally set the record for the fastest match in the Overwatch League when they lose to the Shanghai Dragons. And then they beat their own time with the loss to the Guangzhou Charge. So these are like stomps that we've never seen before.
No, they were horrible.
Coming off the back of ridiculous stomps over the Valiant, the Gladiators, and the Hangzhou. So they were dominating when they were playing Double Shield. Like, if you, these recent games should not stop us remembering that when they played Double Shield, they were dominant over some good teams. The same level of teams that they're now losing to. The Gladiators and Hangzhou are pretty similar to Guangzhou and Hangzhou. One of the teams is literally the same. So I think that this is a team that probably can only play one style of Overwatch right now. Yeah. And they subbed out probably their shot caller Badoshin in the Guangzhou game. And then they sub out Marvel, who there's got to be some reason why they're running Marvel all the time. It can't just be because they think Sigma is good.
I brought it up on the broadcast. We saw Michelle for the first time against Hangzhou. Michelle he was one final blow behind Fitz last season for the lead of Seoul Dynasty, and he had the most just eliminations, kill participation, obviously playing Diva, but it's still important. He had the most on the team by far. It was like an 800 difference. I mean,
Michelle is pretty good.
Michelle was so good.
Michelle's all right
last year.
Yeah, Michelle's.
He's a mediocre off tank, right?
But he's the only off tank they have. Like, running with Marvel the whole time was never supposed to be a sustainable strategy. We just thought it was cool because they were running Sigma all the time.
And then you see Marvel on Diva, like, what the fuck is going on?
What the hell's going on? Why? Like,
John.
Bro, he's in Korea.
Awesome. Yeah.
I want to see those guys. I want to see if the Titans blow up. I want to see Gushui, Janu, Haxall, Godsby, Bebe, and IDK. That's what I want to see. Or fucking put Twilight in IDK. That'd be nuts.
Yeah.
What? Where?
You just blow up. You just blow up half of the Hangzhou Spark.
Anyway, hold on. Why are you talking about that?
Oh, because Josh just brought it up. Well, Johnny brought it up.
Oh, wait, what's going on?
Johnny.
What's going on here?
Anyway,
we're deleted all of us.
Host,
webcams are going
get it under control.
It's just me. I'm panicking. What?
Hero pools. Hero pools default to hero pools.
What am I talking about?
Talk solo on camera.
I wanted to say
pools.
something. That's it. I remember now. I remember what I wanted to say. Kurt's swearing. Oh, something's going on. Anyway, what I wanted to say was, I feel so bad for Seoul because they are just they've always had this reputation coming in. Do you remember when the Overwatch League first started? And everyone was like, yeah, they're going to be a great team. One of the best teams. Lunatic High.
Squad.
You know, core roster. Great group of lads. And then they played like shit. And then year 2 rolls around and then they improve, but they're still not really a top team, you know? They're still getting there to the point where they could be considered a top team. And now this rolls around and we finally start to think, okay, maybe moving over to Asia, they're going to be comparable with teams like Shanghai and a lot.
Yeah.
And now they're just flopping again.
Yeah.
Seoul fans, I think, have had it worse than the New York fans. Because New York have at least had the taste of being a top team.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and New York fans, they also get the advantage of being able to like complain about personalities in the scene for looking down on them and saying they weren't a top team at all, because now they actually start winning and look really good. So fans love that.
I mean, right now Seoul's just Guangzhou with better colors and a cooler name. I mean, that's pretty much about it.
Guangzhou is legit good though.
Yeah.
That was sick.
Josh has been saying it.
Josh?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Josh is. Nobody loves the
I've been
Guangzhou
telling
charge more than Sideshow.
Is that margarita hitting or what? What's going on?
I do think that they're a good team, but
Nero made it. He's off camera.
I also don't think that they are amazing. Like, and also that, I mean, did you see what Nero posted recently? That
He's got to go get his visa.
He's got to go for his visa.
Yeah, his visa needs to get fixed. Like, I think this team's got issues coming up that they're still going to have to deal with.
Where do you put Seoul right now?
I put him at
terms of
13 or something.
Yeah, they have not shown the ability to be able to play other compositions other than this DPS. Sorry, not DPS. Double shield stuff. So,
bro, I want to say I want to like put them higher, like just off of, but from what we saw earlier. But man, I think their play was like, you know, when you watch a team and they lose 3-0, but you can still tell they're kind of close. Like they're just like, you know, a few bad plays away.
Yeah.
These guys weren't fucking close. I mean, they were nowhere close. Dude, Valskaya Industries on offense, maybe, I don't know, 10 times. They would just run into the left room with the Mega, and then instead of trying to like go out the other way, they would just sit there and they would wait for Hangzhou to just get at both doors, and then they would just face plant out of one door. I was like, what am I watching? And they did it over and over and over again.
Prophet also looked pretty bad on the Echo.
Yeah, we didn't say his name like once during our cast.
I feel so bad about this. Yeah, but I want to say that it has to do with the team not diving together and looking good on dive together, and Prophet is sort of taking like the collateral damage from his team being ass. But at the same time, yeah, he did get picked off a bit too many times. Yeah, his positioning was a little bit rough. But I can't help but feel like he's trying to play the hero to its fullest potential, and then his team is just letting him down. Like, it's a little bit of that. I'm not trying to justify Prophet like being a top Echo and everything, but there is some of that to it. Like, that's in the mix, you know? That's playing a part. A little bit, anyway.
This team looks lost.
Like
I mean, they actually just look straight up lost. And I don't know whether to blame it on the fact that they have been playing with Gesture and Marvel for so long that Gesture Michelle just doesn't work, but then why did they just get bodied by Guangzhou so hard?
It might be.
Play Marvel, Michelle.
It might. I tell you what it might be.
Yeah, why not?
Sorry,
the
Gesture.
idea just popped into my head. They're all back in Seoul. Quarantine's starting to get lifted. Lockdown's looking better in Korea. Maybe they've all just got misses.
What?
Maybe they've all got girlfriends. Sorry, I need to stop speaking roadman. Maybe they've all started getting into relationships. I find that's
what you're gonna pin this on. In the
I
middle
find
of,
that pro players,
you think that they've all got shacked up.
I mean, maybe
Even
I'm not.
If they did, that doesn't mean they forget how to play.
It's true. But I think young men, especially like gamers who don't have many social skills, sometimes when I think back at this,
think about the slander you're dropping right now. You're like, yo, they stink because they're girlfriends, and then gamers don't have social skills.
I'm not saying that they don't have social skills, because I know they do. I've hung out with Gesture. The guy's got swagger like you wouldn't believe.
Gesture could fucking eat and drink like a fish, that guy.
But I'm just saying that there's a possibility they're in Seoul. You know, it's the first time they've been in their home country for a while for a lot of them, because they've just been in America. So you seeing friends, catching up. Maybe they find a nice girl. She works at a flower shop.
Is everyone like hanging out in Seoul? Like
suddenly?
No, surely not.
Well, yeah. Lockdown is ending. Like they've got a pretty good, strong handle on COVID. They've flattened the curve, and now the number of cases has gone down so much.
Are they all going out to the bars? Are they all?
Yeah.
No, but they're seeing friends. They're still doing shopping. Everyone's still wearing masks, but you're allowed to see friends. You're allowed to stay and see.
You've heard it here first. Seoul Dynasty's losing because they're going out to shop.
All I'm saying is, think about this. Gesture's buying some flowers for his mum. He goes to the flower shop, sees a nice girl, starts chatting to her. He's wearing his Balenciaga tee. He's chatting her up. He's telling her all this. Next thing you know, Gesture buys the flower shop. Okay? Now he's managing a business.
Is this
his time's being
a
split.
Gesture fanfic? Like,
all I'm saying is there's I think moving back to your home country can cause you. I'm saying this could be one of the scenarios, but there could be many. Moving back to your home country, probably there's a scenario where it causes these players to get a little bit complacent.
But what happens once he owns the flower shop?
What do you mean?
Well, you just ended with the gesture owning a flower shop.
He owns a
Nothing
flower
really
shop.
happened
Now
much
he's
of
starting to
that.
learn how to run a business.
Okay.
And he can't focus as much on the game. I won't lie to you guys. Don't know if you can tell. That was a bit of a joke. But
Yeah,
all I'm saying
one
is,
request.
I think that there's merit in thinking that I think they might be getting a little bit complacent because they're back in Seoul.
Maybe.
Back in
I don't know.
Korea.
I just want to make one request.
Go ahead.
And it's that someone makes the meme where that's like Marvel debate or whatever, and then it's gesture the Chad buying flower shops and like the biceps. You know what meme I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I want to see
flower
someone do that
shops.
meme. Gesture the Chad buying flower
think they
shops.
should-
That'll be the. I mean, it worked last year for a while.
I want to touch on this next segment briefly
Yeah.
because it's not. I don't think there's too much to discuss here. But Toronto traded Cruz over to Toronto traded Cruz. Paris traded Cruz over to Toronto, and Paris have now signed Fielder, who we talked about. He had a great opening game on 200 ping. I don't really think there's much to take away from this. Really, Kellex is now retired.
Yeah. I mean,
Cruz
they needed the
maybe
main
is filling up
support.
that void, that role. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I think it's a good pickup.
Yeah.
I also think that
Yeah.
Cruz is good enough to start. He just wasn't getting fielded over FD God because FD God's a nut on
yeah,
Lucio.
That's cracked.
This feels like a team that Cruz can really do well in.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like his kind of vibe.
Yeah, Toronto feels like a team for the lads. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, like, I would want to play for Toronto.
It feels like a bit of an old
They seem
boys
like
squad.
they seem like a cool
Seems
group.
like a weeb squad. I don't think it seems like a lads squad.
Bro, listen,
No. These
The
are the
boys-
guys chilling at Kambu Chicken for sure, mate.
the boys can like anime, Josh. It's 2020.
No, but what I mean is a lot of these guys are very quiet. You got Shofor, you got Nevix, you got Agilities. These are quiet people, right?
Quiet boys,
They're not
wholesome
lads,
boys.
lads.
No,
They're
I'm not
not-
saying that. Listen, I'm not saying they're lads, but definitely I mean, actually, I don't know where I'm going with it. Anyway, are we done?
No,
anyone
but
wanna
like
add on?
there's still two stereotypes. Like there are like introverts who are lads, and then there's typical like Peaky Blinders lads.
Sorry, who are the introvert lads?
No, but like the weeb boys who get together and they talk about their favorite anime and they're like, ooh, woo, baby.
I don't think
like,
Cruz
No,
would fit
yeah.
into that.
I think the boys in Toronto Defiant like get together really well. I think when they turn
no,
up, they're not
yeah, I
like,
agree.
oh, Sherfor's on about his freaking weeb shit again. It's like, no, it's like they love like logging into TeamSpeak and like talking to their friends and have a great time playing some Overwatch and just chatting shit. That's how I
agree,
imagine
agree.
Toronto.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think that assigning the word lads is slightly disingenuous. And no one's ever used the word lads to mean people who come together on TeamSpeak to discuss anime and Overwatch.
I just want to spill some
They're not
early juice.
The lads normally.
I want to spill some early juice.
Yeah.
That this year there was a chance, and it was in talks. There was a chance of a UK super team.
Yes.
Well, we would
I
have
heard
had
that, yeah.
Smex, Fusions, Boombox, Cruz or Funny Astro, KSP, and I don't know who else. But there was a chance.
I mean, you
that
literally just listed all the UK professional Overwatch players.
yeah, but there was a chance that
Yeah.
we were going to have a UK super team, and all I can say is, can you imagine the content that would have came out of that team? Like, that would have been one of the best business decisions a team has ever made in the
it'd been
Overwatch
great.
League, I think.
There's any team that would have showed up drunk, it would have been them.
That would have actually been an astounding business decision, but the pieces couldn't come together.
It would have been the
Unfortunately.
Outlaws essentially, but British and maybe a bit
good.
more self-aware.
More intoxicated version of the
And
Outlaws.
actually good, because they would have had Christopher possibly coaching them.
Yeah, they would have been all right. I think
Mate,
good is again.
Are
a
you
strong
forgetting,
term.
though? Are you forgetting the World Cup performance where we almost beat Korea?
That was like 1 year. That's like when people go back in soccer history and they're like, oh yeah, World Cup 1994, like we were so good that year. If we could do that again, that would be lit.
Was that the year that we beat the USA in the quarters?
Yeah,
but
I
you-
think-
And then
though.
Mikey A clapped back at Sinatraa.
Josh doesn't even rep the UK anymore, dude. He's telling people he's from Guangzhou.
I'm one of the 14 billion
Josh
that comes
Josh
from
actually
Guangzhou.
though does not give a fuck about the UK.
Nah.
What do you mean?
Josh doesn't care about the UK.
I care about the UK.
Nope.
I mean, test
Not
me.
true.
What can I do to prove that I care about the home
Who's the
country?
queen?
The queen is the queen.
Oh, fuck. We got.
I feel like sometimes Joshua looks Canadian to me. I don't know why.
I look
don't know why.
Canadian.
Yeah, you got the makings of a
Yeah, you
Canadian.
do have a Canadian
Something
vibe.
about you drinking maple syrup out of a bowl.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about the Vancouver Titans. This is a bit more juicy. The Vancouver Titans, there's a rumor that they are just imploding. It's not really a rumor at this point. The players have changed their social media. There was a big backlash because they released... Who did they release? Johnny
and the coach, and
But
then the
then
assistant
also
coach
the
today.
assistant coach as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So the
Pejon, Adante, and Janu now.
and now they're going to be playing in NA next week.
Yeah,
this
they're
week
playing
they-
Florida.
Yeah.
And their former players, some of them are still streaming from Korea. So
So who are they getting? I mean, I actually
don't
don't know.
know.
Did you see that rumor that they were picking up Third Impact, and then all the Third Impact players were just like, "The fuck you talking about?"
Yeah.
that
Isn't
seems
that
like
Halo?
honestly, that read to me like a suicide pact from Halo of thoughts that he made with himself. Like he was
Yes.
just shaking his own hand in the mirror and being like, "Don't worry, guys. If I get this wrong, I'm leaving." And then he just writes down something that's wrong.
It felt like
All
one
right, now
final.
I'm forced to leave.
It felt like one final gamble. You know what I mean? It was like,
Yeah.
if this pays off, I'm a legend in the Overwatch scene. I've got him back, like an ex-girlfriend who he's pissed off by, I don't know, doing something. But,
I mean, it's the journalist equivalent of my void
think-
take. And I'm like, what are you doing, lad? Like, at some
in
point, it just has to
Vancouver-
stop. You can't report like this.
If Vancouver wants to change their roster, like as an organization, like it's fine. I think the fans just probably want to know, like you'd rather know sooner rather than later. I think the pressure. I actually think the pressure is going to fall more on whoever plays for them, right? Because you have such great players that they're coming in to replace and coming in mid-season potentially and whatnot.
yeah,
Really, I don't think
It's
that's
a
like it
huge
at all.
bar. It's a huge bar to. Yeah, I mean the fans are gonna expect.
No, I
Yeah,
don't think
Dude,
so.
the fans are not going to expect shit. The fans are
Yeah.
going to be mad at the management for for causing this fucked up situation in the first place.
but people in that type of situation take it out on the players. They don't realize there's a difference between players and management. Like
I
it
don't
happened.
think
It
so.
I don't
happened
think
in
so.
COD
The
with
fans-
Optic.
no.
But-
The fans are pissed at the management.
Yeah,
Like, the
I mean, did
management
you
is
see the
in-
meme that got voted super highly that was like announcement from the Titans fans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Titans.
But we also don't know what the whole story is. Like maybe it's only a few players and they're keeping some. Like you have no clue right
That's
now.
why
I
some
think it's
journalists
too-
need to dig in to the story because it's
Yeah.
full of juice and this is the kind of stuff. Because this really is important to talk about because this is the kind of conflict between player management where from the outside you don't know who to be mad at. Right? Like you actually don't know whether you should blame the
that's thing,
players or
right?
whether you should blame the management.
Yeah, like everyone's blaming the management, but we'll never really know, right? Like what's happened there.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the greatest journalist we have in the scene is like Avast baiting his fans that he's gonna leak juice. It's like the Chinese caster apparently like leaked this somehow, and I was just like, I think something is up, and it's like, come on, dude. Like apparently there's like the number one thread on Reddit is about some Chinese caster talking about it.
Is that
Come
Alan?
on, Avast, stop baiting your fans, dude. Don't do him like
Is that
that.
the Chinese caster, Alan?
I don't know.
Good
I
luck.
didn't read
Alan.
the thread, honestly.
there's also a part of me who is kind of like, well, it'd be fucking cool. Well, obviously not for Vancouver fans. I mean, it would stink for them, but it would be cool to see a lot of those players because they're awesome get dispersed around the league and see what kind of difference they make on other teams.
Yeah.
That could be really
I
interesting.
mean, you have a bunch of players who could be potential like free agents who are like not just normal free agents you see during the year that like, oh, maybe they play a bench role or whatnot, not like starting level, like game changing, team changing level players, right?
Yeah, but also I think that no matter whose fault it is, like I mean, think of any theoretical problem that could have happened within the Vancouver Titans. You know, so a player goes rogue, the management are fucking them, they're unrealistically demanding certain things. Like whatever the scenario is inside of that, it is a horrible shame that it wasn't able to be smoothed out. And that's the job of the management to smooth that out, even if it comes from the players in the first place.
But sometimes it's not resolvable,
Yeah,
right? Like the
sometimes-
players
sometimes
don't.
things are
But
unresolvable.
that's like you don't know the management could have tried, and the players just don't want to resolve, right? I mean, that's like you can try all your hard.
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
Me
But
and you
at the
can have a
same
beef
time,
and like yeah.
This is a squad with so much history They were in your grand finals in your inaugural year of the Overwatch League coming into the season.
And shit was going wrong right about that time as well.
But if somebody makes
the beginning of the downfall.
But if they make like an unrealistic demand or whatnot, like what are you gonna do? Just just cave?
No, but you can. I feel like
that sets a bad precedent for you for the future.
Absolutely, but you compromise and you find some sort of middle ground to work with.
But that's what I'm saying.
And reasonable management does that. Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Where the me and you could get in a fight, Bren. I want to compromise with you, but you don't give a shit. You're just gonna hold your ground. It's not my fault. I didn't go trying hard and compromise. It's just once I didn't want to compromise.
Yeah,
there's always a possibility of that.
Yeah, at that point, it is on the person, but I think at the same time, you need to have people in the organization that are also being this kind of. This normally falls on the general manager or basically the team manager of a team, where they are this central figure and they are essentially towing the line between the org and the players and their demands and their wishes. There's normally a central figure in a team that does this. And I'm not saying that the Titans never had that, and it could be that the onus is on the players, it could be that the onus is on the management. I actually don't know.
I think that was the role that Harsha was doing last year, actually.
Right, so Harsha's doing a role, Harsha's now on the Titans, okay? But you need one of these figures. When I think about the various teams, Chris Chung, who's I think he's the general manager of Shock, right?
Shock, yeah.
He is that figure in my mind. Roston for Philadelphia Fusion. He is that figure in there. These people in my mind, they do a fantastic job of being this leadership figure for their players, someone that the players can come to with their criticisms, their demands, their issues, and they have trust in that person that they will come to the management and some sort of middle ground will be met.
Yeah.
So basically, we're supposed to blame all of this on Harsha, is what you're saying.
Well, yes, it was Harsha.
Listen, I'm down to blame Harsha.
Don't blame Harsha. But in some ways, Harsha was probably that person, right? In the first year.
Nah.
I think in most reasonable teams, things never get to such extremes, right? Like most of the time, you solve these things right at the beginning before things bubble up. The fact that we've all heard about things bubbling up with the Titans since the grand finals of last year, and then they get to this point seems to indicate that something fundamentally fell down with the structure. Like depending on who was at fault there, whatever. But there's something wrong with how the team atmosphere was functioning.
Look, I just want to see what happens with the team, with the players, whether they stay, whether they go, because there's a lot of. I mean, we could probably if they had a new roster and they release a bunch of those guys, we could do a whole episode on where those guys could go and what kind of damage they could do. I mean, you put a player like Hacksaw out there in the wild, or Twilight, like Slime. Like these are prime time players. And now imagine spreading those players out against amongst the teams that we know are really good in the Asian region. I mean, that is sick.
I also think, though, that the Titans, the runaway core was always great because it was a core. And it's a bit of a ship of Theseus kind of thing, because if you go way back in time, the runaway core did mold. Like different pieces came in, different pieces came out, but they always kept this same theme. And it was always the same kind of team environment. If you split them up, I think that something that was so great about the Titans was the synergy with how well they actually played together. I don't think that So-Min Soo's the best player in the league, but I think he fit really well with the Titans. I don't think that Bumper was the best main tank, but I thought he fit really well with the Titans. So I think that it's a real shame that this core that was built so much around teamwork has kind of torn itself into pieces. I also feel bad for Fisher because that guy's reputation is just going to, even though, as far as I'm aware, had nothing to do with this, just because he has a reputation as a home wrecker and another hot tub juice.
Hot tub juice, from what I hear, Fisher matured up as an individual. Not the problem.
Yeah.
Someone who, like you said, he's got the reputation for being this home wrecker, right?
And then he just walks into a home that's already getting wrecked by some other people, and he's like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, feels bad, man.
The best storyline possibly ever imagined right here would be if Fisher went to Boston and turned it around with good spirits.
Why would you wish that on Fisher?
No, I think that would be the best storyline in Overwatch history. If Fisher just joins the Boston Uprising and he's like, okay, I'm tired of my past. I want to turn around. I want to be the messiah to this team.
That's the best
and he just
storyline
leads them down the path to victory.
That's the
He
best
transforms
storyline.
Brusen into like the Janu of the West and just makes it an incredible team. Please, Fisher, join the Boston Uprising.
Players go to Boston to die.
It's time to change that, Bren.
Players go to Boston
that's
to die.
horrible.
Get my boy Fusions out of that team, please. Because his career, if he stays in that team for a long time, people are just going to assume that he's dog shit when he's actually a very mature lad, keen to improve. And at some point in the GOATS meta, he was a fantastic Reinhardt because, believe it or not, he's a good player with a lot of talent. But talent gets wasted on that fucking team.
I love when you guys cast the Boston games, and Bren is always like, "Oh, you know who I really like, Josh? Brusen. I really like that guy." He goes on like
I
2
like
minutes.
Brusen, bro. Brusen's got talent. Brusen actually has talent, and it gets fucking squandered with that bloody team.
Every time the roster card comes up, Bren's like, "I want to talk about Brusen."
Well, these days with the players, I don't even talk about when the roster cards come up because I can't see when the roster card comes up, and I don't have a second monitor, so I can't see the starting rosters anyway. But you would be correct if I was on the desk. If I was on the desk and I had to talk about a Boston game, I'd be talking about Brusen and Fusions and Color Hex every game.
What about my boy
Young
Jerry?
Jerry's. I mean, you can tell he's talented, right? But fuck Boston, man. We're not talking about them. We're not giving them any more time on this show. Get it out of here, man. Hero pools. Let's talk about the hero pools for this
let's
week.
keep this one quick. We could just. I like.
But this is a great change. Like, this
the
is
changes that
positive
have been
hero
made
pools talk for once.
very positive. Okay, so for the
Don't fast
uninitiative-
forward, guys. This is going to be positive.
I can't speak properly. Is that an MLG mug?
Yeah.
Well, look at that.
Nice.
Oh, that's
Was that
custom.
hand painted?
Yeah, hand painted.
What does it say on the bottom?
It's made by one of the coach of Atlanta, but he's a streamer as well, like Replays. His mom made us all painted MLG mugs when we worked there, and I keep mine.
That is lovely.
I brought it everywhere. Yeah,
Nice.
super nice.
This used to be a Boston cup, but I rubbed the logo off it because fuck Boston.
No, it didn't.
The thing is, that could also be true. Okay, the hero pool changes though. So the hero pools are now matching Overwatch League play, and they've tweaked the algorithm now. So we're not going to be starting to see Genji Roadhog being put into the pool anymore. Thank the Lord. But the good thing is, hero pools are now being matched, and hero pools don't exist anymore for below masters.
Yeah.
It's astonishing. I feel like the only change we need to make now is just to make it last a little bit longer, so teams have longer to practice on the meta. And we've almost.
I'm
I
also
even think
fixed
it's
it.
fine the way it is.
I'm also fairly fine with the way it is, honestly. I think that one of the problems with making it 2 weeks that I think never used to be a problem, but is kind of now that it also affects Masters and GM games, just since they tied the leagues together, the league with the ranked data, is that if you have a bad hero pool, you just lock people out of playing like Widow for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
2 weeks,
that's it.
2 weeks is a long time if you're playing the game. It doesn't,
Especially in ranked.
yeah, it doesn't feel that long for Owl because it's only 2 instances. It's 2 weekends.
Yeah.
It's not 2 full weeks.
That's
but if
true,
it's in,
that's true.
If it's in ranked, it is a long time. So
Maybe we should just get rid of them.
well,
I've shifted my stance, and I'm probably on that side of things. I actually listened to the Tactical Crouch podcast today, and Yiska went on the most epic rant I think I've ever heard him go through. But I won't go through it all because you'll have to go check it out yourself and listen to it. But one of the things he really made me think about is the fact that we always say that Overwatch is such a dynamic game, especially when you practice. Like, there are so many different circumstances, so many different compositions, so many different maps, etc. And I can't help but think that players are going to be exhausted practicing with so many ever-changing circumstances. Like, they're going to be fatigued from the fact that every week everything changes and they cannot like become good at one single thing. And I think this might actually play a part in retirement. Maybe not now, but maybe in like a month, or maybe in like 3 months, or maybe like in 4 months. I think people are going to become exhausted from not being able to practice set strats and the world just flipping around every week. I think that hero pools in long term might be a big problem. And so I'm already now being like the bit of a, I don't know what the word is, but the guy with the sign, like, oh, the world is ending.
Doomsday guy,
Dooms, yeah. So I don't want to be that guy completely, but I do still have my concerns about hero pools overall, and I can't, I'm still siding with that I think they should just patch the game.
I think though that saying just patch the game is
forehead.
Yeah, it's a very like forehead, because if you actually think about it, if we hadn't had hero pools this whole year, let's do a little thought experiment. If they had never introduced it, I still think we would be playing McCree mate.
You would, yeah.
And maybe there'd be some variation with like double shield. Some people might be trying to play counter comps with the Pharah and the Sombra or something like that. And with Echo coming in, that really would have been like a game-changing moment, I think. But we'll figure out next week whether or not that's true, because maybe it wouldn't be if McCree's in the meta the whole time.
Right. But I can't help but feel that they're not taking updates as seriously because they have the hero pool system in place to sort of be like a band-aid on that situation. I made this hero pools video on my YouTube, and I talked about how I think that we should have new updates every time a new ranked season begins, and it should change up the game. And that's how you should keep the game fresh and how you should rotate things.
But I think, though, they haven't been able to do that.
Huh?
Like, through changes, they've never been able to do that.
Well, it's time to, do it, Like, again, like, I'm not claiming to be, like... I'm not claiming to solve all the problems or be like the prophet who, blesses us all in Overwatch with the best solution ever. But I think that realistically, that probably is the best solution. And I've heard a lot of different arguments, but this is sort of where I've ended up. And
that's similar to what League of Legends does, right? Yeah. They have fairly regular balances, and they try and go hard in the paint with the balances, and they like buff new characters. It's a very cynical balance philosophy that is like, we are balancing not to make the game better, but to make the game different. And in fact, to make like certain heroes deliberately a little bit overpowered so that you're inclined to play them more. I think that's an option. I just think it's something that's always gone counter to the philosophy of the Overwatch team.
Yeah, maybe. Also, I think that we're seeing a lot of disappointments every time there's like a new PTR patch or every time there's a new blue post. And I think one way to sort of fix that is to actually have like a day in the calendar that people can look forward to. I think some of the disappointment stems from the fact that people don't know when we're going to see a new patch. Like, they don't know when we're going to get an update. And so when they receive that update, it's a surprise. And they're like, oh, we got an update. Oh, it wasn't what I expected at all. And I think if you make more regular updates, like the first of every month or something like that, people have a date where they can look forward to things, and the disappointment won't be as harsh.
That does lock the developer. It does tie their hands quite a bit, though. Because if you can't push the patch on that date for whatever reason, be that something internal to do with the work process, or there's a bug that you didn't realize that cropped up at the last second, or you don't have the best ideas for how to change the game, and you've ended up with something you don't really like at the end of it, it puts you in a weird position where you feel forced to hit deadlines that you've self-imposed for.
I mean, it's not like you flip a switch. Ideally, I would like to see them have like a new update every ranked season. And it's like Diablo, right? When a new season hits in Diablo, I know you haven't played Diablo Sideshow, but essentially it's like a big deal. They're changing up the meta, because usually what's happening is in Diablo, it's like they have a season. I can't remember how long it goes on for, but they introduce like new armor sets that allows like set combinations for new builds. And so it always like keeps the game fresh. And they always try to change what builds are the best every new ranked season in Diablo to have those players come back. Because those Diablo players, they don't want to come back for new seasons and play the same build like they've always done. They want to come back every season and play a new build. And I almost feel like we can maybe apply that a little bit to Overwatch. And then, like, I completely understand what you said about that you cannot push it the first of every month ever, because it comes in like, okay, well, what happens if the first of the month is like a Saturday or like a Sunday or whatever? Maybe it's a holiday, But you could still have a PTR patch, let's say week 3 of every month. That way you get a bit of a reminder going into that new month every time or something. I just think we need some more regularity to the updates we're seeing, so that whenever people get updates, the disappointment isn't like overwhelming.
How would that system be better than something that put hero pools on a fixed rotation that just you knew each week what the next hero pool was going to be? Like you could literally look at a chart right now and see the hero pool for the next 10 weeks.
The reason is because I think that you cannot have hero pools. Or well, are you saying you would want hero pools in Overwatch League, but you wouldn't want to have hero pools in ranked? Because the issue we come back to is that you cannot prolong the time of hero pools, because you cannot look out ranked for a prolonged amount of time. You cannot look out heroes for a month in ranked. That just doesn't work. So we cannot have the same system in OWL to make it efficient in OWL as in ranked. And so either we just get rid of hero pools in ranked, in my mind, or we just get rid of hero pools completely. I'm a bit lost in the sauce myself now, so I don't expect you all to follow, but...
No, I'm following. I think I've always been the biggest... most outspoken person about hero pools. I think that's
really? You have? Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But I will say that I am very positive about the future. I enjoyed Overwatch for the first time ever last week. No, I did enjoy the games a lot though. Watching Echo being introduced, it was a lot of fun, and it really stood out to me. That weekend of matches just being fantastic to watch. But I will say, I think that a lot of my issues and takeaways with hero pools destroying narratives and causing all these issues are going to be rectified with this May tournament system that we didn't touch on at all last week.
Yeah.
That we're doing. Basically, the May tournaments where there's no hero pools, every hero is open, and it's an actual tournament structure with 2 distinct regions, and we can get storylines and teams can go on lower bracket runs. And they can... Yes! Give me playoffs! Yes! I mean, it's going to be sick, and it's going to, I think, dispel away some of the negativity of hero pools for a degree. I think it's because we've just had it with these matches having so little stakes, and now we're going to have this May Madness tournaments in both regions that are just going to be popping off. I don't think it's going to be that bad, and especially with the recent changes they've made, I think it's even better.
I think we're getting to a much better place.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. That's settled then. So for everybody who has skipped that hero pool discussion, welcome back to Plat Chat. And it's time for our Week 14 power rankings.
I think Kurt said we couldn't do power rankings.
Good, because I don't want to do it.
That's fine with no power rankings.
I personally would not like to do them.
Let's skip on.
Why don't you want to do them?
I know that they're great for clickbait content because they always get posted, but the thing is, just people just don't. They can't think about it. They can't just use their brains to just...
Yeah.
Every time we post one, we get a comment from somebody saying, why is Chengdu the bottom team? And it's like they're in their own separate container, and they're still saying this. And I'm like, oh my God, you people, what are you doing? How do you find this place?
But that's one person compared to the hundreds that appreciate the power rankings.
We have gone pretty long. I don't know if we have...
Do people actually appreciate power rankings? I know people love power rankings. But it just feels disingenuous to do them because
has there been any change? Like, would there really be any difference this week?
That's about.
I recorded my power rankings today. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say I think Valiant would be shifted up because right now we've got Valiant as the lower half of the middle pack teams.
Yeah.
We've got Valiant as worse than.
What Atlanta moves down?
We have Paris very low.
Atlanta definitely moves down.
Yeah. So I made my power rankings today. I recorded it today. It's posted tomorrow on the Overwatch League YouTube channel. It was the most chaotic power ranking I've done all season. Like, it's actually so hard to rank these teams that I'm actually just going to tweet out tomorrow. Take this with a grain of salt because it's literally impossible to rank these teams. I put San Francisco. I put San Francisco at number 2 above Philadelphia. And I don't even think that's like totally deserved, but Rascal is the best Echo in the league. And it's like we don't have any results that can tell whether San Francisco is 2 or 3 or Philadelphia is 2 or 3. And
who's
it's just
your number 1?
Shanghai, right?
Oh,
because he does them all.
I don't
you merge them together. Gotcha.
Tiers make so much more sense right now. And I don't think you can justify ranking 1, 2, 3, 4.
When it comes to the May tournament, like that's power rankings are essentially just like a bracket prediction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you split them into 2 segments. So
true.
It's a good idea for like how you're thinking about
Okay.
people's chances of making it deep in. the ring.
Okay.
Here's what I would change with the Asian one. Can you see it on your screens?
Yeah.
I would move Seoul to the bottom.
No,
Yeah.
above Chengdu.
No.
Above Chengdu?
Well, actually,
Like they're getting shit stomped by.
with the way they played, they
I would move
deserve to
them
be at the
below
bottom.
Chengdu.
Yeah, they
should be at the
deserve.
bottom.
Chengdu almost beat NYXL in the game that we
almost
played.
beat. I mean, they lost 1-3. It was scrappy, but
Yeah,
I
but
wouldn't say
they
almost
fucking.
beat.
I mean, dude, they pissed away Paris. I mean, it was just the dumbest
Oh,
Paris
yeah.
I've seen somebody play.
That was a draw
Yeah.
in Paris,
think-
right?
Yeah, it's just so stupid.
I think this is fine. Fair.
Yeah. Otherwise, Asia's
What about
fine.
Hangzhou over Guangzhou? Are we
Why?
still?
You're arguing
No.
over sticks and stones. Like,
Do we think that they're going to be better with no Nero and no Neptune? No.
Well, that's in like a month.
Coming up.
dude.
Yeah, I think
a
when
while away.
when Nero goes, they'll probably get.
Yeah,
worse,
yeah.
but they've still got him for a
All
while.
right, fuck it, leave it like that. It's not worth arguing.
I think Atlanta Ray needs to go down with our main one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
get down. I think they should be just above Dallas,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
and I think Valiant should be above them.
Is the Florida Mayhem that high up now?
I think they're too high.
Do you? I think they're
Yeah.
good. Like I would move Paris back
mate,
up after they
they've only played
took
against Boston.
Philly to 5.
I would
Well,
move
no,
Paris
they beat
above
Paris.
Florida.
They literally 3-0'd Paris.
Yeah. It's a real
That's
hard
true.
one, isn't it?
Put it.
Like, I
Put
think
Florida
Florida's a
number
good team.
2, dude. Put Florida number 2. Fuck it.
No.
No, please.
I'm not having this.
Kurt,
I'm not having
yeah,
this.
lock it in, Kurt.
No. Put them.
Could you
put 'em-
imagine
yeah.
Super watching this and seeing the Florida Mayhem at number 2?
I think Florida are better than Atlanta. I think they would beat Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think,
Today,
yeah.
maybe, yeah. Tomorrow, who knows?
I think you put Valiant above Atlanta as well, right? They beat them recently. I think that Atlanta have both of those teams have struggled results-wise, but
Yeah,
Give them the
they're
credit.
very even. I put Atlanta above Valiant, and I actually said in the power rankings themselves that Valiant, I know you beat Atlanta, and I know you pretty much like deserve to be above Atlanta because you won, but I still can't help but feel like Atlanta played like poo. Like that was one of their worst games in a long time. And I can't help but feel Atlanta is going to be better this upcoming week. And that's not really fair. Like, you can't talk like that in power rankings because then Seoul would naturally be higher than they are. But you have to look at results. I don't know. I'm contradicting myself. It's so hard. I put Atlanta above
Yeah,
Valiant
you talk
myself.
yourself into these corners where the best way to win an argument with you is just keep letting you talk. You eventually come out the other side. What?
that's very true.
At least I'd say something.
Dude, this fucking quarantine's got me fucking shanking people on the internet, just hitting them with.
Dude, your background is
fire.
literally just like
You are-
pitch
yeah.
black. Like, where are you right now?
Mate, you look like you're in
I'm
the
in a
bloody.
layer. It's like
you look like
what?
you're in the bloody cave that Tony Stark was in Iron Man
Yeah,
1.
yeah. I'm hiding out with Jason Bourne, dude.
Anyway, were we happy with our power rankings, by the way?
Yeah, I thought they were good.
Yeah.
I think that's as good as you can get them, really.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. That was actually very painless.
Yeah, that was.
Well, actually, one of my biggest surprises on that ranking is how high the Gladiators are up. Because it's like yeah, they're a good
they're
team,
fine
but it's actually
team.
quite surprising.
I think
is actually,
the
yeah.
Gladiators had a bit of a rough time early on against Toronto, but I feel like Toronto were especially playing up to them in certain ways.
Yeah.
Because I think there was just that added motivation for Surefour to almost beat his former team.
For whatever reason, I just trust the Gladiators. Like, they just have such a consistent team.
All right, I'm
Like,
gonna go the
they
exact
never
opposite.
really they never seem to like overly impress, but they never seem to be like disappointed.
Bro, save it
think
for
the-
head to head.
I think the
Yeah.
only reason that the Gladiators are up there is because they haven't played against Paris, Florida, Atlanta yet. They haven't played against any of the East Coast teams at all. They've only had the opportunity to be the second best in the Pacific because they,
But
because they can't play against
why would anybody trust you? You thought New York was crap. So
Yeah.
I didn't think New York was crap. I just didn't think
go
that they
back
were
to
rated.
Oh, really?
Go back to
I'm pretty sure you said so. Yeah.
I thought they were
Yeah.
like middle of the pack.
Shout out
Yeah, I
to
s-
Ambox wearing your hoodie right now.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Unbox. I saw Josh burning NYXL jerseys on his balcony. That's
Shout out
what
to
he's doing.
Unbox.
Yeah.
I still have a
that-
New
is
York
that
Excelsior jersey that I'm supposed to eat.
Is that
It's in-
new?
What, this? No, I've had this a
Yeah.
while.
Oh,
They're sending
I've
me
got
some
like
new
a
drip, though.
Maroon colored one of that. They're really nicely made. They're
Yeah.
These are lovely. Lovely hoodie. Anyway, that was a great little power
Anyway.
ranking segment. Let's do
Yeah.
our predictions. I want to kind of like, not speed run this, but just We only got 3 games anyway that we predicted.
I don't want to speed run this, so I'm gonna do it the way I usually do and just call out one person's name and they shout what they picked.
No. So you are high, Matt, with this one.
Yeah.
I think
Give
a
me
little
fucking
bit.
London, dude.
I think you're high up on London because
Give me
Guangzhou been
London.
looking tasty. What made you go London?
Because there may be
Sanguinar.
12 people that are watching this, and Sanguinar's got a cool name, so I went with London.
Oh my god. Do
No,
you remember
no,
when I
I
don't
forgot
believe
that
that at the
Sanguinar
moment.
played for London on stream? It's one of my most viewed clips of the last month. I was
Yeah.
looking through it. Somebody, you made a joke about Sanguinar, and I said, "Who's Sanguinar?" And he went, "He plays for London." And I was like, "Oh yeah."
Dude, if anyone watches all of our content, they are probably thinking that Bren had they're like the Bren that casts is a different Bren because he's like, oh, I didn't see that game. I don't know this player. I don't know that player. He's literally got no clue what the hell's going on.
I
at
just
any
think
time.
I've got some memory problems. I forget things quite easily.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I just haven't been super overly impressed with Guangzhou, and I think London's had a lot of time to hang out and maybe figure something to do this week.
I think this game could be close.
I don't think London's bad, I don't think Guangzhou is like so dominant that this can't be a close game. So I went with a bit of a gamble.
Fair enough.
I feel like Shui is going to be the random ass echo that like
Shui, dude.
transforms into like a Zenyatta or something, and he just starts firing away like that. That's Shui to me. I love Shui. Like Shui is like Jerry to me. The way people think about Jerry, I think about Shui that way.
Why?
He's the projectile version of a Shui or of our Jerry. I love it. I love Shui.
Just because his name is
Next game.
Shui.
Next game. What are we working at?
Yeah, but also his play, just like when I see him play, I just
Oh,
Interesting.
This is interesting.
Okay, so
I actually thought I was thinking about going for the Gladiators, and then I was like, no, that's a bit of a ballsy pick.
Yeah,
Dude,
I think here's the thing. I've got so much faith in the Paris Eternals coaching
Yeah,
staff.
you were previously the
You
Paris.
picked them to make it in the
Gobblers.
finals.
Yes, I know. But in terms of what we've seen recently from them and the fact that they're dealing with so many issues, like XC's out, he's in Korea with a neck injury, Fielder's playing on 200 ping, they're still getting used to him. The Gladiators have looked... I feel like they take a while to heat up in a game, but they, generally speaking, I would expect them to take this probably 60% of the time against Paris Eternal.
I think we're moving back to a May McCree kind of meta where Paris have been good before. Yeah, they don't have XC, but Soon's proven that he's pretty decent in that role anyway.
Yeah.
I think that the argument about Fielder doesn't really hold any weight because he played really well. Like if you weren't told he was playing on high ping and then he was a new
wouldn't
addition,
know.
You wouldn't know. So it can't be affecting the team that much.
I mean, it
like, they're
definitely does
still
affect your play,
underperform.
though. Like, it does. It makes you...
Did it?
affect? Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to affect Fielder because he's going to be playing at the odd hours of the bloody day, isn't it?
But did it affect Fielder? Like,
But
I-
I'm
like,
saying
in
it
the
has the
game, it didn't-
potential to. Just because it didn't affect him in that one instance that we saw, doesn't mean that it wouldn't continue to affect him later on, right?
Yeah, he
especially if
could
he
be a
has
lot
to
worse
play.
than he got in his
I mean,
I love
what's
when
the
you
time
guys
zone
argue.
Hold on, what are we working with here? They're like 15 hours ahead, so it will be like 4 o'clock in the
it'll be a
morning.
weird time in the morning. Yeah, for sure.
For him to play. Like,
I think
that's
that would make
rough.
sense if you'd never seen him play, but we saw him play and he was really
Bro.
good. So unless you're saying that he's going to be a lot worse than in the previous match, I think that he's fine. Like he's better than Hip or Gray were playing, honestly, in their
I'm
game.
just saying it's a factor to consider.
Yeah, sure. It's a fact to consider. I'll take that from you. I think that Reinhardt being out potentially is a hurt for Paris.
Yeah.
And I don't know what is really going to be played in this match.
Yeah.
Because I think so much is still up in the air about like, are rush comps viable with Orisa Sigma? Are people going to be playing like Orisa Sigma May Reaper? Are people going to be playing Orisa Sigma May McCree or May Hanzo or something like that? There are definitely worlds here in which Paris gets put in a comp where they are poo. But if both teams are playing well, after what Paris did against Philly this week, I feel like they're in a decent position. This should be a close game. And it also depends what server they're playing on.
Any
'Cause this is a cross-coast game.
anything else to add here, Johnny, with that one?
No.
Cool. What's the last one?
It's so close that I'm like, it's hard to say.
Interesting that we all went for Atlanta here. I don't think that is that interesting. I think, are we all under the consensus that we think that
well,
Atlanta
we-
underperformed?
We
Well, wait,
ranked
this is
Valiant
the game.
above, yeah. So
Wait, this
of
isn't-
course it has to be on the
Wait,
fourth.
this isn't a game.
This isn't
that's
a
coming
game
out.
this week.
No, I think
This is
the.
this was the
game one last
previous.
week.
This
I
was the
think this was
previous one.
Outlaws. No. I think this is Outlaws Atlanta.
Yeah,
right?
it's
But
Outlaws.
I think
Atlanta.
we just put in the Valiant logo instead of
Oh,
Outlaws.
Yeah,
okay.
It makes so much sense now.
Much
I mean,
more.
it could have been the previous weeks as well. I mean, who the fuck knows? It
I mean,
doesn't
did
matter.
we
We
all
all-
go for Atlanta versus Outlaws?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
that one,
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think Outlaws does have some upset potential here, though.
You said this so many weeks in a row that you believe in
Well, they're
Outlaws. And I
close.
love it.
They're not that bad.
If you went into
Yeah.
this season and would think of Josh as being bearish on the New York Excelsior and bullish on the Houston Outlaws, I would be like, what are you on, dude?
Josh has had an odd transition from top tier analyst to the Guangzhou and Houston Outlaws sympathizer and basher.
The Houston sympathy, though, has only really started recently. I think it was when they.
Yeah.
I can't even
When
remember.
they added
Like, was it?
Harsha.
It's when they
added Harsha.
hired you for that job. it's when they paid you for that job. That's when it started to change.
I think it was. It must have been when I saw them play against. Was it Toronto or Paris or somebody? And they could actually play. They played like Dante on the May, and they played fairly decently in the May mirror.
May.
And I was like, okay, this team's actually improving a little bit. I can't remember which team they're playing against. Maybe it was Dallas or something. I can't fucking
Yeah, man.
remember.
Anyway, that's
Nah.
pretty sick. That's the prediction.
I think this team has some potential to upset, but I think it's pretty unlikely.
yeah.
It's time. Listen, I know you guys want to go to bed, so we're wrapping it up. Okay, we're gonna end it with the segment that everybody messages me about for some reason. This is the only one that people talk about, and it's my player of the week. Here we go.
We can finally.
My player of the week.
I still don't understand any of it.
What do you mean? What's to understand about my player
we
of the
can't
week?
hear the audio, but I don't understand you walking through the door in the green screen jumper suit.
It's my player of the week, Matt. I don't understand what the problem is. Anyway, the my player of the week this week is both two people. It is the girl. What's her name? Halsey.
Halsey.
I'll see.
I actually don't know who this is.
What?
She's a pop star.
Yeah, I don't know who she is
She's
either.
huge.
I
She's
don't know
massive.
celebrities, man.
No, well, she's not huge. I mean, she's a pop
She's
star.
5 million. Yeah. She's
Yeah,
had like
but she's not like Lady Gaga. Like, she's a
But-
pop
What do you
star,
mean?
but
she
she's
does
not
have,
like.
she does have more clout than all of us and the Overwatch League combined.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
So
for
what
sure.
I'm saying is, I think she's my player of the week. So shout out to Halsey, and also McGravy for putting Overwatch on the map again. You know, we've had some turbulent times. McGravy comes out with the diva, this genius idea, and there we go. We got the quote tweet of the century. You know, I want to see you work
Yeah.
out those pectoral muscles a little bit more. Maybe you get it a bit more form fitting in the future. But
That's
looking
so
pretty good.
Honestly, this cracked me the
it's
fuck
really
up.
That's
Just
incredible.
look at the difference between the pictures.
can we get Halsey's up?
I mean,
Yeah, get the original up, Kurt.
look at the difference between her original picture and
So,
then
yeah.
McGrady's.
Yeah, let's
It's
go on
click on
her,
her
go on her
profile.
profile.
Donkin.
Click on our profile and press media.
Oh God.
We might get. I mean, we can't get removed from YouTube from this, right?
No,
There it is.
no.
There it is.
It's that one.
These are the
Look,
original ones.
And
I
so
mean-
what was so great was that McGravy copied the poses.
yeah.
So he took 4 pictures as well and copied the poses the same way. That was brilliant.
I just love the. You look at that, and it's like that meme of like, I want. It's like, Mom, I want a Baby Diva cosplayer. And it's like, no, son, we have a Baby Diva cosplayer at home. And then the Baby Diva cosplayer at home is McGravy in this saggy onesie that he can't quite tie up around the back that's hanging loose.
Yeah.
Oh, with
So there
I'm
you
just
go.
saying. I want to keep pushing this storyline
Blink
because
body.
I think this is like Overwatch equivalent of Courage and Ariana Grande. And I hope we can push this narrative even more. Maybe have like McGravy do a YouTube video with Halsey, like a music video or something. I think that'd be lit.
I played Valorant with Madison Beer the other day.
What?
I again don't know.
I
who
don't
that
know
is.
who Madison Beer is, but my chat was blowing up saying that she's very popular and famous.
I think she's is she Australian?
I don't know.
so.
I think she does some of the songs in the KDA League of Legends stuff, but she was playing Valorant and I queued into her.
Bren, what do you think about KDA?